really bad. Like, I was really old. But these I got from my friend.
Joseph hurt his neck. That's why he's not here.
What a baby. I'm just kidding.
Okay, how did he hurt his neck? Never mind. I
He
don't-
said he slept weird.
Oh.
I hurt my neck yesterday. Everyone likes switch.
All right. Weird comments are us in this complete. All right. This class is just got the weird comments going all over the place. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what we're supposed to do for part 2. I did fix the link. You can now download the Word document again. I also copied and pasted it for you Mac users into the description here, so you don't have to download the document if you don't want to. But anyway, Mac users, go figure. All right, so let's talk a little bit about part 2. I don't want to write code for you because I'm taking your training wheels off at this point. I'm going to be writing a lot less code for you on assignments as we go forward from here because, you know, we are on the home stretch and you should be independent a little bit more than you are right now. So, I guess I should turn the screen on where you can see what I'm talking about. Maybe. It's okay. All right. So what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about part 2 because part 2 wants you to create black and white. It's coming. It's slow. It's blinking over here. So I'm going to keep talking while the screen says blank. It'll be up in a second. How many of you have read through part 2? A few hands, a few nods. Okay. I saw a few people working on it before they left Friday. So part 2 wants you to build off of what you did or learned in part 1. You're going to create a whole new function. It's not going to be in the same function that you had before. You're going to create a whole new function. And we're going to take an image and we're going to force it to be black and white. Now, I'm going to tell you, it's not going to be the prettiest black and white picture you've ever seen because we're going to do this very harshly. It's going to be a harsh kind of cutoff. So if you're really looking at a black and white photo or something, it's more of a grayscale. This is truly going to be black or white. There's not going to be any shading in it. It's not going to be smoothing out any edges. It's just going to be pixel is black and pixel is white. Now, that being said, what do we know about black and white? It is 2 colors. How do we get those 2 colors in our pixels?
0 or 255.
0 or 255, which is which?
I think 0 is black.
0 is black, because the black is the absence of all color, or all light color. We're dealing with light, not pigment. And 255 is all the light mixed together, so that's white. I need to go buy a prism one day just to prove that to everybody. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk through building an algorithm for this. I'm not gonna write the code for you. I'm gonna help you build an algorithm. So if I've got to judge a pixel and I want to decide whether it should be a black pixel or a white pixel, what's the first thing that you think about? Or anybody got a brilliant idea of how we want to go about doing this? If you've already done it, don't answer the questions. This is for people that need help, not for people that have already jumped ahead. So, everybody looking at me kind of crazy. So, what I think about when I'm doing this is I need to figure out which parts of the picture are darker and which parts of the picture are lighter. Right? So the light colored pixels we want to make white, and the dark colored pixels we want to make black. So there's a couple of different ways we could do this. There's one very complex way where we could take 2 pixels that are right next to each other and compare them and see if there's a huge contrast between them, which would tell us that You know, one should be black and one should be white, kind of like an edge detection kind of thing. We're not gonna do that because it's a little more complex than we want to get on the whole building algorithms and mathing. We don't want to math today. So the other way we could do it is we could take the average color of each pixel and compare it to a threshold point. And everything above the threshold is one color, everything below the threshold is the other. That makes sense? So to do that, what do we need to do? First, I know it's Monday, but come on. I just said we need to take the average of a color. So how am I getting the average of a color?
Add all the divides together and divide out.
Right. The same way we get an average of grades. We're gonna get the red, we're gonna get the blue, we're gonna get the green, we're gonna add them together, and we're gonna divide them by 3. Right? Yeah. That's how we get average, right? We know, and we already have functions that get the red out of each pixel, and then get the green out of each pixel, and the blue out of each pixel. So that's just a lot of code. So we're gonna create that average, and then we're gonna use an if statement that says if average is above a random number we're gonna pick as our threshold, then we're going to set all the colors to. So if it's a high number, does that make it a bright color or a dark color? Makes it bright because 255, we're heading towards 255, right? So if it's a high number, we're gonna set all of the colors, the new red, the new green, and the new blue to 255. And if it's a dark color, we're gonna set everything to 0. Yes? So we're gonna use a lot of the same pieces from our previous 2 functions. So we have negate and we have create color wash. So you should have those 2 functions. And load and process, that's 3 functions in your main. So you should have 4 functions already in your code, right? Because I spot checked a couple that turned theirs in just because I wanted to see what was going on. And at least one person put all of their wash stuff inside of negate. So you might want to check that. So, questions? Comments? Anybody know where we're starting at? Okay, you're all gonna stare at me. Got it. Good. It's all good. So when you do this, you're going to, like I said, have a new function. You also are going to have to modify your load and process now, because it can't just take a color. It's going to have to take black or white. And if it gives you black or white, you're going to have to do something different than called color wash, right? So there's a lot of the complexity has stepped up in part 2. It's not really a lot of new stuff except the negate. I mean, the black and white. But you have to start thinking about pulling all the pieces together. The load and process is going to have some changes to it. Because it's going to, it should be where you're asking which image and what you want to do to it. You also are going to be, I have been asked to add magenta, cyan, and yellow to your color wash. So that's just 3 more if statements. Anybody figured out the trick for those 3 colors yet? All right, so the trick for those 3 colors is you actually have to keep 2 of the colors and only one of them is going to 0. No, I'm not telling you which 2. I gave you a link to a nice pretty color chart that will let you go look up which ones make which colors. research is your friend, right? All right, so I don't think that part is hard in part 2. That's just adding to what you already got, doing a little research to see how to mix the 2 colors, adding them to your options for your user. The tricky part is getting the black and white set up in its own function and adding it to the options. And then that's not a touch screen anymore. The last thing you have to do in part 2, sorry, is I think that's it. Is there any? Oh, don't forget step 2 where you fix it where it'll take uppercase and lowercase letters or a mixture. That is 1 line of code to fix that. You don't have to change your if statements to fix that. If you think about your string functions, you can force everything to be all lowercase, or you can force everything to be all uppercase. So we have to think back a little bit to where you were using strings, right? Yeah. All right. So this is where I'm going to take a pause and I'm going to let y'all write code. And I'm going to come around and answer questions as you write code. If you already have part 2 done, feel free to go ahead and exit the room. If you have part 2 and 3 done, feel free to exit the room and not come back until next week. Because we're not adding anything new at this point, and I'm not trying to get rid of you. But if you don't, I'm sure you have other things you can be working on, but all we're going to work on the rest of this week is finishing this. If you are not finished with this, don't exit the room. Use this time wisely, because I may not answer questions over this coming weekend. I didn't answer questions Sunday. Of course, most of them came in after I shut down my brain for the day. But this is not something you can wait for this weekend to start on and then get enough help for me to finish. All right, I'm going to stop this video and then I will come back and add to it if I need to. But